The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. For 8 years, she kept the secret guarded behind, a picture-perfect Hollywood smile. But just like that one interview changed everything, and Hollywood had a new obsession. Everyone wanted to know what really happened behind closed doors. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame. And today, we have a really specific mission for you. We're doing a deep dive into a bombshell June 2026 Variety profile that, honestly, it completely shattered a long-held narrative.
Yeah, it really did. It's wild.
Right. We are unpacking what Anna Faris finally admitted regarding her divorce from Chris Pratt. And, how a seemingly innocent passing comment on a red carpet managed to spark just an absolute internet firestorm. We've got a massive stack of sources today, from the profile itself to the viral social media fallout, and we are going to dissect exactly how this all unfolded.
Because it's a story that really forces you to examine the actual mechanics of modern fame. Like, we're looking at a situation where a celebrity explicitly tries to construct a safe haven away from public scrutiny, and yet the public still finds a way to consume them, right? To reinterpret their words and wage these crazy digital proxy wars on their behalf.
Exactly. And we need to start with the confession itself, because the timeline is super critical here. So they married in 2009, had their son Jack in 2012, and separated in 2017.
Right, which was a huge shock at the time.
Huge. For almost a decade, they were perceived as the quintessential relatable couple. But after years of silence, Anna Faris admitted that her marriage and subsequent divorce felt like, in her words, her hand was forced.
Wow.
Yeah. She told Variety that calling off the engagement before the wedding would have been a smarter, stronger, braver move, but she went through with it because everyone is expecting this. I mean, that quote just stopped me in my tracks.
I mean, it's a staggering admission of cognitive dissonance. When you look at our sources, Faris talks about the sheer amount of effort it took to maintain that specific image. They fiercely protected that flawless imagery, even from their own inner circles.
Which sounds exhausting.
It is. They were projecting this unified front while internally the foundation was just cracking. And I think that's what makes this June 2026 Variety interview so striking. This profile was supposed to be standard PR. It was for her comeback in Scary Movie 6, which, by the way, just opened at #1 with a $55 million box office.
Massive comeback.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of giving safe sound bites, she basically dismantled her own mythology.
And thinking about the psychology of that, it's kind of like architectural load-bearing,
How do you...
Well, the public is leaning all this weight and expectation on the beautiful facade of the marriage, but internally, the load-bearing walls have already been removed. It's like keeping up a shiny, brightly lit storefront when the shelves inside are completely empty.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You're performing the marriage rather than actually living it, and eventually that structural dissonance is going to cause a collapse. But my question is, how does someone survive that level of pressure while living under the brightest spotlight imaginable?
Well, the dissonance between private reality and public expectation can absolutely destabilize a person. I mean, we see it all the time. But her survival mechanism was actually highly unconventional.
Okay, what was it?
During the marriage, back in 2015, she launched her podcast, Anna Faris Is Unqualified. She viewed it as a secret community and an avenue for genuine human connection, totally away from the Hollywood machine.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she viewed it as a version of retirement, actually. A way to build a life without public judgment.
Okay, wait, that makes zero sense to me.
Why not?
Because if you want a private sanctuary away from the public eye, why would you build a broadcast medium literally designed for public consumption? Like, why not just start a group chat with close friends or, I don't know, move out of Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Using a public podcast to find privacy sounds like a complete contradiction.
I completely understand why it seems contradictory, but you have to look at the mechanism of control. When you're an A-list actor, your narrative is entirely controlled by other people. You've got directors, editors, publicists, tabloid journalists.
Right, everyone has a piece of you.
Exactly. You are a passive object being consumed. But by starting her own podcast, she became the active architect of her environment. She controlled the microphone, the guest list, the editing, the tone.
Ah, okay, I see.
It wasn't about avoiding people. It was about engaging with people on her own terms, stripped of that glossy Hollywood artifice. It was a controlled environment where she could just be human rather than a commodity.
So she wanted to dictate her own exposure. She wanted to escape the judgment. But, and this is wild, wait until you hear how one comment on the red carpet accidentally ignited the biggest fan war of the year.
Oh, yeah. It perfectly illustrates how quickly a controlled narrative can be hijacked once it enters the public domain.
Totally. So let's set the scene for you. We are at the Scary Movie 6 premiere in Los Angeles. The flashing lights, the chaotic energy, right? Anna Faris is talking to the media, expressing deep, genuine gratitude for her fan base. She notes that she has felt their support for years.
Which is a very standard nice red carpet answer.
Right. But then she tags on a seemingly harmless caveat. She says she felt the support from fans, quote, but not from the industry.
And that 7-word phrase acted as a total catalyst. I mean, the internet immediately weaponized that quote.
They really did.
Fans did not interpret that as a standard critique of Hollywood studio politics. They instantly mapped it onto the timeline of her marriage and turned it into a referendum on Chris Pratt.
See, I really want to challenge that interpretation, though, because when I read that quote, not from the industry, I hear an actress talking about studio executives. I hear her talking about casting directors who boxed her into the funny girl trope and didn't take her seriously as a dramatic actor.
Sure, that makes total sense.
So why did the fans instantly make it about her ex-husband? Why did they automatically assume the industry was code for Chris Pratt?
Well, it comes down to deeply ingrained cultural biases regarding power dynamics in Hollywood marriages. Audiences follow these intersecting trajectories really closely.
Right.
You have an established female comedic star who paved the way early in her career. I mean, think The House Bunny, Lost in Translation. Then you have the rising male star who suddenly pivots into a massive global action hero with Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World.
The internet loves a narrative of betrayal.
Exactly. When Faris said the industry didn't support her, fans flooded social media claiming that the industry went for the man. They built this narrative that Hollywood abandoned her in favor of the newly minted leading man who, as fans aggressively pointed out, went on to marry into a good family.
Referencing his current marriage to Katherine Schwarzenegger, of course.
Right.
So the fans basically used her, quote, as a Trojan horse to unleash years of pent-up anti-Pratt sentiment. And they started pulling out receipts to validate this narrative, which is where things got really messy.
Very messy.
They resurrected a highly scrutinized Instagram post from 2021 where Pratt thanked Katherine for giving him a, quote, healthy daughter. And we need to explain why that specific phrasing caused such a visceral reaction.
Yeah, context is everything here.
Right, because the son that Pratt and Faris share, Jack, was born prematurely and suffered from a severe cerebral hemorrhage. So fans viewed that healthy daughter comment not as an innocent celebration, but as a deliberate, callous slight against Faris and their son.
Which just demonstrates the sheer velocity of internet outrage. Social media acts as an archive for perceived slights, holding them in a silo until a catalyst like Faris's red carpet, quote, allows them to be deployed.
Exactly.
But, we have to look critically at the fans' underlying motivation here.
Yeah, like, are they actually defending Anna Faris, or are they just projecting their own agenda onto her words? Because to me, it feels like they turned her into a helpless victim just so they could cast themselves as the righteous heroes taking down a villain.
You are hitting on the exact definition of a toxic parasocial relationship.
Totally.
A parasocial relationship is a one-sided psychological bond where a fan feels a deep, intimate connection with a public figure who doesn't even know they exist. And, in healthy doses, it creates supportive fan bases.
Sure.
But here, the parasocial bond became possessive. The fans decided they knew what Faris meant better than Faris herself.
That's so true.
And the tragic irony is that Faris specifically stated in the Variety piece that she spent years trying to reject the microscopic scrutiny of Hollywood. Yet by fiercely protecting her, these fans are subjecting her to the exact kind of suffocating analysis she built a podcast to escape.
They are dragging her right back into the very narrative she successfully walked away from. It's crazy. And by the way, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and the psychology behind them, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Because the internet might be painting Chris Pratt as the ultimate villain right now. But later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking twist regarding their actual relationship today that literally nobody saw coming.
Yeah, the contrast between the digital fiction and their physical reality is jarring, like completely night and day.
It is. Because that internet narrative is so convincing that you would assume their actual divorce was a bitter, scorched earth battle.
Right.
But when you look at the actual legal filings and the mechanics of their split, it tells the exact opposite story. Their co-parenting relationship is actually a massive success.
It is a masterclass in pragmatism.
Yeah.
When you examine the mechanics of their divorce settlement, you see how they actively utilized legal guardrails to dismantle the potential for public drama.
Yeah.
Well, they had an ironclad prenuptial agreement. They divided their assets equally. Neither sought spousal support. But the most crucial mechanism was a geographic stipulation.
Oh, the 5-mile rule.
Yes, they legally agreed to live within 5 miles of each other until their son Jack hits the 6th grade.
I really want to dig into that 5-mile rule because that isn't just a casual commitment. That is a highly restrictive boundary for two A-list actors who travel constantly for film shoots. Why mandate something so specific?
Because it acts as a psychological anchor for the child. It removes the chaotic variable of competing bi-coastal Hollywood schedules from their son's daily reality.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
It forces both parents to prioritize geographic stability over transient industry demands. And honestly, that is not the action of two people at war. That is a highly coordinated effort to create a stable ecosystem for a child born into a deeply unstable industry.
And it clearly worked, because both have happily moved on. Pratt is with Katherine Schwarzenegger, and Faris is married to cinematographer Michael Barrett. Faris openly stated in the profile, quote, "It feels really good to not live with that internal churning of unpleasantness."
Yeah, she seems really at peace.
She does. You even have Katherine Schwarzenegger publicly praising Anna Faris, calling her a podcasting expert and expressing admiration for her. The reality is a peaceful, functional, blended family, while millions of strangers fight a fictionalized war in their names online.
It completely exposes the illusion of the digital echo chamber, doesn't it? The
Yeah.
internet demands drama because drama drives engagement, but real-world healing is often quiet, bureaucratic, and highly functional.
Yeah, and we saw that healing physically manifest at the Scary Movie 6 premiere. Faris attended with her husband Michael, his 2 kids, and her son Jack. It was Jack's first public appearance in years, and the whole blended family posed together.
It was a beautiful moment.
It really was. And we have to recognize the professional triumph of her even being there. She initially felt that returning to the Scary Movie franchise would be a concession of my soul. She worried about the money, she worried about her pride, and she deeply feared being permanently typecast in comedy.
She was fighting the very industry boxes we discussed earlier.
Right.
But her motivation to return reveals a lot about her character. She ultimately agreed to anchor the film to finally have the chance to thank the Wayans brothers, Keenan, Marlon, and Sean, who originally created the franchise before studio politics pushed them out.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, she wanted to honor her roots. It was a moment of coming full circle, standing on a red carpet, headlining a $55 million hit on her own terms.
But of course, the internet could not just let her have that triumphant moment. Even as she stood there in a stunning Monat black sequin halter dress, surrounded by her family, the online scrutiny pivoted yet again.
It always does.
Fans flooded social media, but this time they weren't talking about Chris Pratt or the industry. They unleashed a wave of unsolicited comments about her weight.
It perfectly illustrates how the subject of the attack will shift, but the intensity of the consumption remains constant. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about her talent or her ex-husband. It was entirely focused on her physical form.
Yep.
Rumors started flying about cosmetic surgery, and the internet aggressively injected her into the current cultural hysteria surrounding drugs like Ozempic.
And we really need to contextualize that because the Ozempic accusation is the current weapon of choice in pop culture right now. Why is Hollywood, and the internet by extension, so currently obsessed with microscopic weight fluctuations?
Well, we're in an era of hypervisibility mixed with an obsession for authenticity. The cultural narrative right now heavily polices women's bodies under the guise of concern.
Fake empathy.
Exactly. When fans leave comments expressing quote-unquote heartbreak over her appearance, telling her she doesn't look like her normal self, they are disguising their judgment as empathy. It is the internet demanding that a woman in her late 40s look exactly the same as she did when she filmed The House Bunny 20 years ago.
Which is impossible.
Right, while simultaneously punishing her if they suspect she used modern tools to achieve a specific aesthetic. It is a completely unwinnable scenario.
It really is the ultimate paradox.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the trajectory we've just mapped out for you in this deep dive.
Yeah.
Here's a woman who literally built an entire podcast infrastructure to escape the suffocating judgment of the public eye.
Right.
She swallowed her pride to anchor a massive box office hit. She successfully navigated a highly public divorce, utilizing strict legal boundaries to protect her son and build a healthy blended family. And yet she escapes one trap just to fall into another.
Place.
Whether the public is projecting a victim narrative onto her to attack her ex-husband or disguising their body shaming as fake empathy, she is constantly being consumed.
Which brings us to the core thesis of her current era. In that Variety interview, she acknowledged that 26 years on the spectrum of fame inevitably shapes a person. Like, you cannot walk through that level of scrutiny without it altering your psychological makeup.
Totally.
But her ultimate mantra, the conclusion she has finally reached after decades in the machine, is simply, if the scrutiny.
Wow. Good for her.
She has realized that she cannot control the internet's echo chamber. She cannot stop the projection, so she has chosen to simply stop trying to placate it.
That is such a powerful place to arrive at.
Yeah.
To just let the storefront collapse and walk away from the debris. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next on the red carpet, because we are always tracking how these narratives evolve.
But before we wrap up, this entire saga leaves us with a critical question about the nature of modern fame. If a celebrity explicitly designs a life to avoid public judgment, if they build legal boundaries and retreat to their own controlled communities,
Right.
but the public simply refuses to let them go.
Right. If the public insists on turning them into a helpless victim that needs to be saved, or a physical object that needs to be endlessly critiqued, who really owns a celebrity's narrative once it enters the cultural bloodstream?
It's a great question.
Is it the star themselves who live the reality?
Uh-huh.
Or is it the millions of fans who consume, remix, and project their own issues onto that reality? It is something to seriously think about the next time you leave a comment or share a hot take online. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.